All right. I think we're good. I think it's working. So, um, first YouTube live video recapping the WNHL Fall 2024 playoffs. So we using YouTube for now on. Figured out the kinks, and looks like this is probably the best streaming platform because this can go right on the website as well. So we're just trying it out live for the first time, and I'm going to go from there and see if this is the platform we're going to use moving forward. So, showcasing the new Turkey Cup hoodie. Thanks, Ethan, for the design. Killed it once again. But it's going to be focusing on, like I said, the WNHL playoffs. So, we're going to start right at the top with all of our championship games, and we're going to start at the top of our divisions with the gold division. Gold division showcased Advocate Athlete versus the LABEDA Whips. LABEDA Whips were a play-in team from the wild card stage. They beat my team, the Fusion, in overtime and found their way to play the top seed Dirty Dogs. Took them down pretty easily, and then made their way to the championship game. On the other side, Advocate Athlete played their rival Kraken in a really tight game. Barry Naylor scored with like 13 seconds left in the game and found their way into the championship. So I got Joe Defo texting me right now. He's telling him, I'm going to see if he can join real quick, a little filibuster. See if he's on here. So, like I said, LABEDA Whips wound up taking on Advocate Athlete in the championship game. Now, Advocate was super short, no Caldwell, no Foster, no Brendan Courtney. So they were down to 5 guys. They lost Reggie in the beginning of the season. He was supposed to be on the team as their 9th. So you take away 3 guys from an 8-man roster. It can be pretty detrimental just on the legs in general. The 5 guys they had there, obviously all great players, but playing a LABEDA team that had everybody but Malvo. So they had basically a full roster, 8 players, and it was a great game. So Advocate Athlete got out to an early lead, and I was kind of looking like, okay, maybe they can pull this thing off. But then the Whips just ran away with it with 5 unanswered goals. Wasn't until Barry scored again and started making a little bit of a push, made it 5-2. Justin Brown got one, Mike Carroll got one. Now we're looking at 5-4, and Advocates pulling the goaltender. So no players. It was actually funny because there was no players on the bench, just Jastro. And they're making this push at the end of the game. And then Advocate Athlete wound up getting the puck on kind of a rolling puck turnover. And Ben Smith was able to ice the cake with an assist from Alec Nikolai. So they wound up winning with 6-4 with an empty net, but 5-4 game going into the last minute of the game, and then they scored with 24 seconds left. So kind of put the icing on the cake. The gold division, and I'll say this about all the playoffs, but especially the gold division, when everyone had their roster, every game was great. When people were light, gold division's one division specifically that you can't cheat in, and you can't play with a light roster. It just makes it way too hard. And that was kind of shown in this championship game. I think maybe one more guy just for some legs, especially from the personnel that was missing with Foster, Caldwell, Brendan Courtney, all guys that can skate. So I think with a little more legs, I would love to see an overtime in that one. But LABEDA Whips were able to ice the cake, win at 6-4, and they are your fall 2024 champions. The Whips were a team that I put together from basically guys that were in draft. Since we didn't do draft this year, we didn't have the time slots. So them and Fusion kind of were 2 teams of guys that were playing on gold teams, and I mixed them all together and made 2 teams out of it. So it was actually pretty cool that a draft team basically won, and it looks like those guys are going to be staying together for the future as well. In our silver semifinal or championship game, we had Bernsey Electric, and we had the Degenerates Hockey Club, also known as DHC. This was probably my favorite game of the night, which, looking at last night's scores real quick, every game was a 1-goal game throughout the entire night. Besides that, the goal game, but with the empty net, 1-goal game. So Bernsey Electric, their team I talked about in the past, they moved up from the Bronze A division, added the goaltender Diesel, which, obviously made it, a little easier for them to transition into that silver division. They also picked up Ben Smith, obviously a huge help there as well. So Burnsy Electric, shout out to them for jumping divisions and making it to a championship game. So in their playoffs, they faced off against D5. They won that one in overtime. Goal from Tyler Granroth. We talked about that the other day. So they only had to do the 2-3 play-in. DHC had the bye. So they played the Renegades, who had the play-in game against my team, the Hawks. They beat us. Renegades went on to play DHC, and that was another wild game as Renegades made a big push, but DHC was able to kind of hold them off there. So what would we expect? Nothing less in the silver division for another kind of back and forth game. So this one DHC started out hot with 3 goals in the first period. Mike Carroll got the scoring started there. And then Burnsy Electric kind of woke up in that second period. Tiernan Senegan got a goal. Riley Horvath got a goal. Ben Smith got a goal. So now we're looking at a 3-3 game. So as viewers from the outside, there was a bunch of people there for championship night. We're like, this is going to be an awesome finish. In the third period, it went DHC goal, Burnsy goal, DHC with 2, and then Burnsy got one at the end to make it a 1-goal game. Justin Brown had 2 goals at the end of the game to wrap it all up. Then Tiernan scored on a kind of like broken play. Puck wound up getting behind Devo. Tiernan just kind of poked it in. And then at the end of the game, Jeff Eppright had a great chance from the top. He just missed wide. He got the puck back, and Mike Carroll laid out an 8-1, soaked one up for the team. So he wound up walking away with the playoff championship MVP for that soak because that shot was labeled. Devo was getting peppered at that point. Devo was playing under the weather, playing injured. So Devo was kind of gassed at that point. And the fact that Mike was able to eat that one and then get the clear as well, why he got that MVP. Sometimes you just need people to eat pucks for you. But shout out to Devo as well. Devo battled with one of the best goaltenders at NERC and beat him out. And so you got to give a shout out to Devo too. Like I said, was playing sick. Had some really good saves at the end. I think Devo's on the stream now too, so perfect timing for him to get the tire pump. But DHC was the victors in that one, and they come away with the silver title. DHC was at the top of the division the whole year pretty much, and they came out on top. So that was one of my picks as well, one of the 2 that I got right out of the 7 divisions. In our Bronze A championship, we had the Aces take on the Mad Elfers. Mad Elfers had a pretty easy semifinals. They beat the Sharpshooters, who we talked about. The Sharpshooters, probably the biggest upset of the entire playoffs, an 8th seed going up against the heavy-handed Deuces. And the Sharpshooters beat them. It was unbelievable. Sharpshooters were a team that was pretty much dismantled at the end of the year and beat the Deuces. When they got to the Mad Elfers just had too much scoring power for them. On the other side, the Aces played the Wet Seals, and they kind of beat up on the Wet Seals as well. So they were the semifinal matchups. They wound up facing each other in the playoffs. Again, another 1-goal game here that was back and forth. You had Mad Elfers, Max Gallagher kind of start off. I think it was the first 10 or 30 seconds of the game. Max came in, walked a couple people, took it wide, buried the puck. Pat Golden fired back with 2. And then from there, it was just back and forth. Elfers, Aces, Elfers, Aces. It was just a seesaw match, but every time a team scored, they scored 2 or 3 in a row. So it was awesome watching the game because throughout the entire game, we were sitting on the side, me and Dave Jerry, we were like, this game might hit over under of 20 goals. It was just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You had a bunch of goals in the first, bunch of goals in the second, and then in the third, it kind of slowed down where the Aces were the only team to score, and that's where the Elfers kind of fell off, is that the Elfers didn't score in the third, so the Aces got the tying goal, and then they got the game-winning goal from Jimmy Smith, and he's the one who walked away with the playoff MVP as well. Devo, you can't comment. I think I turned off commenting, figuring nobody was going to be on here, but appreciate you trying. But nevertheless, and Devo, you could just text me because, you're the only one on anyway. But really good game there in the Bronze A division. I said in the beginning of the year, kind of just recapping this Bronze A division, this was probably the one division that anybody could have won, and it really did show because you had the Sharpshooters beat a first place team, and then you had the second place team against the third place team in the championship. So it was a little bit, I guess you would say, on the top heavy side of things, but anybody could have won those games. I mean, talking to Nick Ritchie and the Wet Seals captain, TiVo is nuts. But anyway, Nick Ritchie said like the Wet Seals didn't have a good game against the Aces. So that could have gone either way too. And Wet Seals have been in several championships. So another great championship game with two really good teams. Bronze B. This was another one that had some ups and downs. Wet Sox was a team that sat at the bottom. And really what happened with the Wet Sox is in the beginning of the year, they lost Chris Beckham, and I forget who the other player they lost was, but they wound up picking up Spencer and Greco. And once they picked them up, the season kind of turned around, and that's when they got good. So they lost a bunch of games in the beginning, and then those two got added on, and they started playing a lot better. And, just didn't have a high seed because of their poor start of the season. In a short season, that stuff happens. And then Turtle Power is always the team that's really good. They have some really good young talent with Angelo DeMaio and Vincenzo DeMaio. In this one, they were missing Victor, and they were also missing Gary. So they were playing shorthanded and only had 6 players in the game. And they were also missing Bill, owner Station Pizza. But I spelled playoff wrong. Of course I did, Devo. I spell everything wrong, but I can go back and edit that. So don't worry about that, Devo. Jeez, you got Devo grilling me over here. I'm trying something out for the first time, and he's just grilling me. But anyway, Devo is kind of like someone I do reflect off of a lot, and I always ask him about divisions and things like that because he plays on pretty much every team. But getting back to this game, Wet Sox, again, another back and forth game where they were trading goal for goal. And then this one found its way into overtime. And this is one of those where, because it was like 2 goals in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third, like this game could have gone like 2 overtimes. I kind of had that feeling that this game could have gone like 2 overtimes. But what wound up happening was there was a right off the face-off of 50-50 battle where Trevor Pearson came out to play the puck, and he went to swipe at it like a Vasilevsky swipe, and he missed it. And Pat Golden pretty much had an open net, and he kind of walked it through the goal line and then just threw it back in and hit the post and went in. He actually thought he missed it. So Pat Golden obviously gets the championship MVP there for his efforts in that game. So that was another really tight game. I mean, Wet Sox, Turtle Power going back and forth. There was smack talking. I got a little happy with like the in-game stuff. I was playing music at every intermission. I had, or at every whistle, I had my speaker out. I was doing in-game announcements as people are coming onto the rink. So another really good game, had a really good vibe to it. There was a ton of people there too. So it was really cool to see in that game. So next division up is Copper A. Copper A division, we talked about it in the beginning of the year, was kind of a new thing that I was trying, where I wanted to relegate some teams and move some teams up and down, some teams that really haven't had success in higher divisions, move them down, and some teams that were beaten up on other divisions, move them up. So this was kind of a mishmash of teams who wanted to play bronze, being the better teams in copper. So made a Copper A division. There was, Devo put in the Advocate Copper team, which probably should have been a Copper B team, but they picked up some guys and they found a way to kind of fight and be in every game. That was the only team that I think really probably could have gone down in this division. But Threat Level Midnight probably could have gone up. But then again, Threat Level Midnight lost a couple of games at the end. And then you have a team like Bacon, who was second to last in the division, make the championship. So they came in and they beat Broforce. Then they came in the next night. And I'll look at, I forget who they played here. But while I'm looking that up, they came in and they won their semifinal game against John, who was the first place team. So Bacon played their way all the way up into the championship game. So shout out to them, because they were just playing some really, really good roller. They got new jerseys, and all of a sudden they became a better team. They've been trying to get new jerseys for years. They finally got them. Pretty sick. They're like Seattle Kraken style jerseys. Some couple like funny things within their group chat that they added on there, but they played Threat Level Midnight, and this was a close game. It was 5-3 game, and it was back and forth where Threat Level got a couple, Bacon got a couple, and then Threat Level just got one with just not enough time for Bacon to do anything and come back. Andy played a great game in that one. Devlin always plays a great game as well. So pretty awesome that the boys were kind of humming, and it was a really good championship game. Bobby Marcus got the MVP there as he had a couple goals in that one, and a couple assists. So Bobby Marcus walked away with the MVP. Good kid. Glad he started to play roller, played ice with him for Santucci's. Made his way into the roller scene finally, and got himself a championship in his first year. Now this one, we got to talk about it. Wolf Pups and No Names. This had a controversial ending. So Wolf Pups, they are the Buffalo Bills of the NERC hockey leagues. They've been in like several championships, never won one. They found their way to the Copper B championship, and Copper B, and keep in mind Copper was split up, Copper B and Copper C. They want to play the No Names, another team that's been in the dance a lot. This one was another 1-goal game. So just to show you, when everyone shows up in playoffs, all these games are super close, and that's why the divisions are built how they are. But Wolf Pups were fired up. I thought they had this one in the bag. Comment from Devo here. Wolf Pups 11 season. Their record's 83, 27, 5, 0 for 6 in championship games. So that is some good knowledge from my boy Devo. He might host the show with me in the future. If I can invite him somehow, I would let him come in here. But anyway, this one had a goal at the end of the game where a player got pushed into the net. So what happened is it was pucks in the Wolf Pup zone. Their defenseman pushed a No Names player into the back of the net. The net came off a little bit, and the play continued on, and then they scored right off of it. Now, in a situation where if there's a goal, a scoring chance, and someone pushes the net off, it's deemed a goal, and that's why it was deemed a goal. And talking to the refs, originally from where I saw, it was kind of like an iffy call, but talking to the refs and how they explained it, they said the net didn't come off much. They said it was, kind of, it looked worse than it was because the guy kind of landed on the back of the net and looked like it moved a lot. And what happened was when the goaltender went to push over, he's the one who kind of pushed it off ultimately. So that's what they were saying. Again, it's a knee-jerk decision and reaction. Sometimes it's just how it goes. And at the end of the day, if the Wolf Pups player was the one who made contact into the net, then it's really on them. So Wolf Pups weren't able to get it done. I think a lot of people were pulling for them, as a couple of the guys that were standing on the side have filled in for the Wolf Pups before, but the No Names were the ones that came out on top. And then in our last division, which is Copper C, which is the bottom half of the Copper division, we had the 2 Utes facing off against another kind of free agent team. I don't want to say draft team, free agent team, 43 Oak. 43 Oak found themselves in the championship once again. So awesome for them, because put these guys together. Randy Patton's kind of taken over as captain for them. He's done a great job. He's really into it. Their whole team's really into it, honestly, and they were so pumped to win. As much as I love all the boys on the 2 Utes, it was cool to see. I didn't care who won that game. Ultimately, because the 2 Utes are great. I love Devo. I love those boys. Me and Detcher were actually kind of fake coaching each team, but love all the guys on both teams. 43 came out on top with a goal scored with 4 seconds left in the game. Brian Patton ended it, and he got MVP obviously for that, but it was one of those games that could have gone back. It could have gone either way. I thought the Utes had it. They got to a 4-0 lead, and I was actually sitting in the box thinking, man, this could be a mercy. What's going on here? And then 43 clawed their way back 4-2. Then it went 5-2. And then 43 got one 5-3, 5-4, 5-5. And they just ended it with a 4-goal run. Steve Mead always said this: a 3-goal lead at NERC is the worst lead in hockey. The second period leading into the third, there was a goal lead. 43 actually scored at the end of the period with no time left, and they got it to 5-2, and that's when the kind of avalanche started for them. So overall, the division was really awesome. As far as Copper goes, the championship was really awesome as well for both Copper A, B, and C. So I was really happy with how it all played out, and just kind of looking at it even at the playoffs. If you look at the playoff scores, no blowouts besides one, right? Every game was 1-2 goal games. couple blowouts in there. Like I said, with the Mad Elfers one, Rocco Modern Snipes got smoked in one game, but most of the games were really close. And even if it was like a 6-2 game or 6-3 game, like the games were back and forth. It wasn't, like it was a 6-0 team got a goal with two left. It was more like a 2-2 or 3-2, and then a team kind of poured it on at the end. So a lot of really close games, and that's exactly what we want in the league. So that wraps it up for the fall 2024 season. And I got a cool idea that I'll present here. And if anybody watches it and you want to send me a message, let me know. Again, my whole idea is to make the regular season a little more interesting. Last year, trying to get the divisions down to all just 6-team divisions, because one, that allows you to play every team twice, right, in a 10-game season. Two, if you get the first 2 seeds, you wind up with a bye into a semifinal, and the other 2 teams have to play quarters or a wild card game, however you want to slice it. So they were like the 2 things I was like, okay, regular season is going to be a lot more interesting. It's going to be a lot more meaningful. The next thing I want to do for the winter season is actually just call them like premier weeks, right? So let's just say week 1 of the season, week 5 of the season, week 10 of the season, right? We pick 3 weeks where if you win your game in that week, no matter who you play, if you win, you get something. So I want to work with like a sponsor on that. And maybe we could do a giveaway, like Pure Hockey would be perfect. Like, hey, if you win your game on week 1, you get a $10 gift card for your team, right? And that could be, guys go buy pucks or whatever, or, tape for the team, whatever it is. So I do want to do something like that, to have these premier weeks where each week is going to mean something a little more on, first, 5th, and 10th week of the season. So thinking of something like that, I wanted to do what's called an in-season cup, which would be a little hard just to track. But an in-season cup will basically be like this. Whoever the champion is from a certain division. So let's just use a smaller division like gold. Next year, the Whips would have the in-season cup at game 1. If they win their first game, they keep the cup until they lose. So let's say at week 4, they lose their first game against Kraken. Now Kraken owns the in-season cup, and the LABEDA Whips would have had 3 games with the cup. Now Kraken starts their run. Let's say Kraken goes on a 4-game heater without any losses, and then they play Fusion, and Fusion beats them. Kraken will have had 4 games with the cup. Let's say Fusion plays Whips again the very next game, and Whips beat Fusion. Now Fusion only had it for 1 game, and the Whips now get it back, and they add into their total. So an in-season cup basically is a cup that basically gets passed around to each winner who beats the team who has the cup already. So it's a really cool idea, and I wanted to do whoever has the most wins in the in-season cup, that could be a prize too. Now, that would be better for me because I don't have to do 7 or 8 prizes instead of all these prizes each week. But even if it's like a sticker pack or whatever it is, I have some close connections with Roller Dad. So one of the things I was thinking for the premier weeks is if you win your game, your team will get like helmet stickers on week 1, and then week 5, maybe it's something else. And then on week 10, it's something else. So maybe it's pizzas, whatever it is. So thinking of some ideas on how to do the premier weeks, or like the showcase week. I haven't thought of a name for it yet, but the in-season cup thing would be something really cool. And if I had someone that could just manage that each week and go through all the scores and make sure they're tracking everything, I think that would be such a sick idea. And whoever has the most in-season cup wins at the end of the year gets like a really cool prize, like something a little bigger. And again, that could be like, hey, I'm going to order your pizzas and beers for your after your first playoff game. Like that would be something really cool too. But just trying to make something interesting, give back, and and just make these leagues as best as they can for what you guys are paying for, and appreciate the support as always. Looks like we'll probably have another sellout of a season. Probably have some new teams coming in and a couple old teams coming back. Just kind of working that out here with the registration. So that's it. That's the fall season wrapped up here. And first time we did a YouTube live. Shout out to Devo for helping me out with this. John Meyer wouldn't like that shout out, but obviously, I appreciate it. And that's pretty much it for this edition of our misspelled WNHL playoff recap.